Last night we were studying together about words. And I'm into words and care about words. And I like when words work out. The fact that the Shabbos is called Inspire, it's experiencing the Shabbos. What a good word to pick for Shabbos. To me, my own observation for myself, certainly there were many inspiring speakers and people to meet. My wife and I were in the Steinman to list all the names. This Fanger, unbelievable. The different Yidden and the different people, different speeches, different vantage points. But to me, the most inspiring point of Shabbos in the most real of ways. We want to think about the topic matter, even though it's a speech that I've said on many occasions, but I want to make sure I am there. So it's important that when we speak, we're connected to what we say. Don't say things you don't believe. Don't say things you don't mean. Don't say things you don't hold of. It should be real. It should be coming from a place of realness. Authentic words that you hold of and believe are powerful. Other words you could scream and yell, but it's not true. So there's a Gemara in Makkas that's quoted and abused. And the emes is one of the hardest Gemaras I've ever learned in my life, and I don't have a full answer, but I have a beginning of an answer. The Gemara says in a statement, I learned a lot from my Rabbi, from my friends more than them, and from my students more than all of them, more than my Rabbi, more than my friends. It's a very abused Gemara, extremely abused, to the point, it's what you're supposed to say at a Talmud, Simcha, Sam, you don't mean that. You don't mean it. It's not true. It's not a truth. You don't mean it. I don't like saying things that you don't mean. Really? We know what a Rebbe is, the magic. Anybody who has a Rebbe, the magic of Rebbe. The magic of Rabbi. I was Zeicha over Shabbos to speak to Rav Shuren, and to hear him describe his relationship to his Rebbe, Ramay Shapiro, what it means to lose a Rebbe. I'm close to a Yid who was a Talmud of Shmuel Birnbaum, and Rav Shmuel passed away. It's a mentor of mine. I said, I want to give you a nechama. I want to be menachem you. He said, you can't comfort me if you don't know my loss. Don't try to comfort me. You don't know my loss. So I said, teach me. I want to know your loss. So he said to me, okay, I'll tell you. He said, when I walked to my Rebbe, I felt I was the center of the universe. Do you know what it means to feel that there's no place on earth I'd rather be? When I'm sitting by my Rebbe, he said, I laugh, anybody's any other place, I laugh. I'm close to some Yidden who lived on the Lower East Side. When Moshe Feinstein was alive, they laughed at all of us. Take your big houses, your lawns, your properties, you're all missing the boat. We are at the center of the universe. We live near Reb Moshe. The center of the world. There's no place on earth I'd rather be. And he described to me, this Talmud of Shmuel Birnbaum, what that means daily, that I'm at the place, the center of the universe. This is just where I want to be, with whom I want to be, a connection to Hashem. This is the place of relevance. Hillel shouted out at the Simchas Beis Rebbe, the happiest place on earth, Chazal tell us. If you didn't see this, you didn't see Simcha Miyamav. And Hillel called out, Imani kan akol kan. If I am here, if the Shekhinah is here, this is the center of the world. There's no place else I'd want. He would explain to everybody. There's beautiful music. There's so many geschmack of things. There's great food. It's great. All of that is not why it's gorgeous. Is not why it's electric. Is not why this is special. It's special because Hashem's here. Because there's Shekhinah here. Imani kan akol kan. When somebody's by the Rebbe is a connection to Hashem. Everything you know, everything you are from a Rebbe. A Yid in Florida told me, a Rebbe told me in Baltimore, I'm sorry, this Rebbe told me that I speak to my students, And he said, I quote, he's teaching in a more modern place, I quote the Rashba, it's not magical. I say the Rashba, the Kiveger, the Bach, they look at me. I learned with three couples that were gaying for a year. I started realizing that in a frum crowd, you say, I have a vert to Kiveger. People perk up. The Gra was spoken last night, the Gra. People perk up. To them, if I quoted a wonderful lady living down the block from me, or I quoted the Gra, it was the same thing, there was no chiluk. The name meant nothing. So this Rebbe said, how do I make the Rashba magical? How do I make Abaya magical to my students? So I asked this Rebbe, why is it magical to you and I? Why is the Gra magical? Why? The reason to me the Gra is magical, my Rebbe to me is magic. My Rebbe to me is a picture of an Eved Hashem, a lofty person who's dedicated to Avodas Hashem. My Rebbe by me is a picture of courage, a picture of sincerity. That's my Rebbe, the most courageous person I know in the world, the most sincere person I know in the world, honest. When the Rebbe is magical, my Rebbe told us about his Rebbe. My Rebbe's Rebbe is the altar. My Rebbe's Rebbe was Rebbe Yisrael Salanter. My Rebbe's Rebbe was Reb Zombel Salant. And his Rebbe was none other than the Gra. So when I hear these names, my Rebbe's magic, and he spoke about his Rebbe in such a way, wow. And Abaya becomes the only way, in a real way, Abaya is magical, is if you have a Rebbe who's magical. If you have a Rebbe who's precious, who's elevated, then Abaya stells the far. Could you imagine? Your Rebbe tells you his Rebbe was bigger. I was zeichet to sit at the distance to my talis near Reb Chaim Brim. We were in awe of this Yid. This Yid didn't eat the last many years of his life. That was not what's amazing about him. There are goyim that don't eat. There are monasteries that don't eat. It's not what was amazing. Reb Chaim Brim, what was amazing is he didn't eat the last many years of his life. And you expect to meet a person, a pirish, an austere person. So the picture, how are we when we're fasting? We're rough. We're in a bad mood. You expect to meet a Yid. He didn't eat many years. But he didn't start eating after Tzeis. After the last Yid would leave, late at night, he would start eating. So this tzaddik was a person you'd expect, a very serious man. He's fasting for years. You'd expect he was happy, joyous, geschmack, warm, funny, loving, full of avad. That's a pella. So you had this Yid, this tzaddik, this otherworldly tzaddik. He's the only person I ever met in my life. The only, who had something on his face. I don't know what it was. I never saw it in another human being in my life. Never. There was something on his face that I saw on him that I had never, ever seen again on another human being. I never saw it before, and I never saw it after, since. He had something on his face. There was something going on there. I don't say it quickly. I've never said it on another human being. Never. There was something about this Yid, a closeness to Hashem that was unbelievable. He would talk to us about the Chazon Ish. He would describe his Rebbe. Wow. So then you talk about Abaya being magical. So Rabbi said, a Rebbe gives us a world. A Rebbe makes Abaya magical. He teaches us everything we know from a Rebbe. Everything we know, everything we say of value. Baruch Hashem, I'm teaching for years. I give over. I'm a tape recorder. That I give over. I guess today you say MP3 player. That's even outdated. But I'm giving over. I'm giving over what my Rebbe taught me. A Rebbe is magical. A Rebbe gives us chiyus, gives us chayim. So a Rebbe, everybody knows, everybody here knows what it means, a Rebbe. And then to say a statement, Talmidei Yosem, I learned more from my students. Who feels that way? Who believes that? Who means that? I don't have an answer. It means a pshat. It's certainly not a chazal to be abused, to be just thrown out there, just to say, I don't say it at Simchas easily. You don't feel that way. I'm thinking about my Rebbe. Do I think that about that Talmud? Be careful. From your students more than the Rebbe. So that's the question I ask you on these two chazal. In a captain melamed, a captain, a rigid person is not a Rebbe, and chazal mitalmid ayosim, that I learned more from my students than my Rebbe. What is the pshat in this chazal mitalmid ayosim? Really? There was once a visiting Baal Musar years ago, came to Waterbury, and he spoke beautiful things. And I was young at the time, I had little kids, and he said, this man said, this Yid said, that I have a daughter who's the opposite of me, and he described this daughter as the opposite of him, and adjusting to a daughter as the opposite of him. At the time, I was very taken by it, wow. Years later, now looking back, I don't know, maybe he even meant this. Everybody has a child different than them. Everybody. I don't know a person. I don't have one friend who hasn't raised a child in different ways that's different than them. When we adjust to our children, when we learn each one and understand and relate and connect to each one, and we come out of ourselves, is the greatest experience of our lives, coming out of ourselves. Seeing another's perspective in the most deep of ways, learning another person's perspective on life. I want to speak, I don't know if anyone here knows the Enneagram. It's in psychology, it's relegated. It's like alternative medicine, the Enneagram. It's not respected in psychology. I have various theories. There are a lot of systems of classifying people, personality types. They're all different systems. I have not found one I liked except the Enneagram. Baruch Hashem, teaching for a few years now, and to me it's a true system. I'm impressed. The Shurashim come from Yiddish sources. There are hundreds of books on it. It's hundreds of years old. It comes originally, they claim, the Goyim say partly from Kabbalah. There are a lot of good sources for it. But the Enneagram is 9 personality types. There's a 10th, Mashiach, we don't know what it is. There's 9 personality types. To say it's accurate, my personal belief is it's unbelievably accurate. I'm not here to speak about the Enneagram. You could look it up. What gain, how much gain, it's very accurate. It happens to be, I haven't met a person that doesn't fit quite well in 1 through 9. That's my opinion. Others could argue. My wife and I have discussed the Enneagram many times. I want my kids all are Bekiim in the Enneagram. I like the Enneagram. But I didn't come to discuss the Enneagram. I want to talk about one personality type. In the Yeshiva Bayes, I see an unbelievable amount of 5s, type 5 personality. They all end up in Waterbury. If I see a type 5 to the point, if I see when I know he's going to be in Waterbury, I was at a concert with my father. And one boy had a beautiful voice. I didn't know who he was, what he was. My father said, isn't that voice good? I wrote to my brother. And I said, yes, he will be learning by me in a couple of years. So my father said, how do you know that? He's learning in Waterbury today, Steigen Baruch Hashem. But I understood the guy. Type 5s end up in the yeshiva. Why? The type 5s typically don't work in the school system. My point is not to speak about personalities. You'll hear my point. But the type 5 is called an observer. They are somewhat detached. They're very cerebral. They're detached. They watch things. They typically don't join. They must understand how things work. They must, before they do anything, they have to understand why. They don't just do things. It's not how 5s work. They can't. They're seen in the school system as chutzpahdik, standoffish. They're seen in the school system because that's just how they are. I've interviewed many 5s, and I watched a father like shaking. You're being a mechutzev. He's not. He's being himself. A 5, the nature of 5s, I had a certain 5, he told me that a very bright Rebbe of his, in exasperation, once said, this guy is a masmid. A 5 comes to us, become masmidim, tremendous masmidim, tzaddikim. I look for the 5, I interview the 5, please send him, he will be huge. They're typically very interested in Chachma, and a yeshiva is a very good place for a 5. But a 5 personality type, this Rebbe was exasperated about this particular Talmud. So he said to him, you're always living 2 minutes ago. That's what he said about this book, which is true, because they're processing and asking and wondering, and don't just accept it as fact. So the Rebbe said, like he said 2 minutes ago, was being kind, but the Rebbe said a few months ago, he's still like processing. Now, younger age, when a kid thinks, he thinks everybody thinks like him. He doesn't realize they tend to more obsessively think and analyze and try to figure out much more. It's a 5 personality type. We could talk about it for hours. I don't want to right now. My point is you have a parent who has a child or a yeshiva. The question in chinuch, are you a Rebbe or not? And this Chazal say a person is not a Rebbe. Not it's usher for a Rebbe to be a malam, to be a captain. If you are not flexible, understanding, if you don't come out of yourself to understand, you are not a Rebbe. Ain't a captain, malamid. You're not a Rebbe. I don't care what you, it's not usher for a Rebbe to be a captain. Ain't a captain, no matter what your title is, who gave you smicha. If you are a captain, if you are rigid, and you can't adjust to all different types, and different people, and understand and figure out and connect and relate in another person's vantage point, then you're not a Rebbe. That's not Torah. The process of Torah is a room full of people with different vantage points. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter says it's strong. He says if the people do not have different vantage points, a rabbi giving a lecture to a group of people listening is not Torah. That's not Torah. Rabbi Yisrael says it's stark. In a room full, if there are 10 people in a Rebbe, if there are 11 viewpoints on the sugya, only that is Torah. Zula ain't Torah. Something different is not Torah. Only if there's a vantage point of each person that's valid. There's a certain way of looking at life, a certain person here, then only then is it valid. I asked Reb Noach Orlich once came to Yeshiva by us, and he loved it. So I asked him, Rebbe, what do you see here? He has a great vision and understanding of people. So I said, what do you see that you're so excited? He said, I see the last place on earth is dialogue. There's different vantage points. He said, the last place on earth of dialogue. That was his line. There's conversation. There's vantage points. There's people. That is how Torah must be. Then, of course, there's a discussion, and then the Rebbe has more experience. That's all true. And then the emes that emerges, that's the Torah process, the conversation back and forth. There's a tefillah we say before we start learning. Before a person begins to learn Torah, there's a tefillah we say. In the tefillah we say, I shouldn't say a svara, my friends laugh at me. I shouldn't say a svara v'yismachu bi chaverei, my friends laugh at me. Now, we all know you need tefillah for everything. You need tefillah. Everything we do needs tefillah. You need siyata d'shmaya. So certainly the fact that we daven, we're going to a beis medrash. I shouldn't say a svara that's laughed at. That's very important. And my friend says a svara, I shouldn't laugh at him. I have no questions that we daven for that. That I shouldn't say something we're learning wrong. V'yismachu bi chavei, my friends laugh at me. One pshat of the Rishonim. Gemara and brachas. So the tefillah I have no question on. But you know what bothers me? It's so unfocused. You're about to learn. Davening to Hashem, I should have the zitzvah, the ability to sit. I should have the comprehension. Why is the guy davening? I shouldn't say a bad svara and people laugh at me. That's so unfocused to what's about to happen. Zone into what's about to happen. We're learning Torah now. In Shema Kaleinu, in Shachris, daven, I shouldn't say anything funny that people will say, hi, he said something so silly. But why is that the tefillah before I learn? That I shouldn't say something my friends laugh? It's only a question if we don't understand learning. Torah is the process of different vantage points saying their svaras. If my friends laugh at what I say, Torah was not learned. If my friends laugh at my perspective, no Torah was learned that day. It's a very focused tefillah. It's a focused tefillah. We're saying the process of limud Torah should happen. Reb Chaim Volozhin says, it says that whoever, shnayim sheyeshim, 2 people sitting, ve'ein beinei and divrei Torah is a moshav leitzim. It's a sitting of scoffers. So it always bothered me, the words. There's not beineim divrei Torah words. It should say two people sitting, ve'ein aloim Torah. What's ve'ein beineim? There's not between them divrei Torah. It's a sitting of scoffers. Says Reb Chaim Volozhin, they are both sitting and steiging. They're learning 10 hours a day, both of them. But ein beineim divrei Torah. There's no exchange of ideas. They're not learning from each other. There's no people who are learning from the other one. It's leitzonos. It's a moishav leitzim. It's not Torah. They're learning. They're each learning at high levels. They're learning, steiging. Moishav leitzim. There's not beineim divrei Torah. There's not a respect and appreciation for the svara of the zulas. It's a moishav leitzim. The Talmidei Rekiva weren't mechabed each other, and Torah couldn't be part of the Messiah HaTorah. That's not Torah if you're not respecting, appreciating the svara of the next person. For a Rebbe to be called a Rebbe, he has to value what each one is saying. Do you know that Kiveger didn't let his children write the word Talmidim in his Shuvas? He said, if you ever see the word that I wrote to somebody, my Talmud, you should know I didn't write it. Somebody switched it. He has a letter where he tells his children, never call my students my students. From all of them, I feel they're bigger than me. I've seen things bigger. There's not one, don't say the word Talmud. So Kiveger said to his children, the yesod of teaching Torah is seeing another's perspective. The yesod of being mechanech our children is to understand it was the you that I left out yesterday morning on Shabbos Kodesh, the understanding of another's perspective. Stelling, so applying yourself to somebody else's perspective, coming out of our perspective. We may be goody-goody parents who've never once sat in a principal's office. Learn to accept this right now. You're a person being dragged to the principal's office and sitting there and in trouble and to say there, take it, accept it, live it, understand a new perspective on life. But it's good you always, but now learn a new perspective on life. That is an absolute must of being mechanech our children, is understanding a new perspective on life, understanding a new way. It makes us so big to come out of ourselves. There is nothing in the world that brings us out of ourselves like our children. Nothing in the world brings us out of ourselves like our Talmidim. To me, this is a start of understanding the Talmidei Yosem Mikulam. Our Rebbe works within us and brings out greatness in us. Our Talmidim take us out of ourselves. I don't know if there's an experience of more learning in our lives when you come out of yourself. When you come out of your vantage point, when you become large and you see another's perspective. That is a large person to see another perspective. That's a very large person. The word gadol, the very word gadol means, gadol means large. The very word gadol means midas tov chesed. That's a Rashi in Dvarim. Gadlus is chesed. Katnus is selfishness. Gadlus is chesed. Chesed doesn't mean to do for another. That's a very superficial view of chesed. The ikar word of chesed is to come out of yourself. Chazal teach us that to the ani asher yechsar loi, give him his needs that he's lacking. Chazal in their depth tell us, why would you say the needs that the ani is lacking? Obviously, if it's his needs, mechsayrei, it's obviously he's lacking it, he needs it. What's asher yechsar loi? The answer is that if you have a rich guy who's used to having people run in front of him and say, here comes so-and-so, here comes so-and-so, when you collect money for him, you're obligated to get him runners to run in front of him. Now, could you imagine somebody comes around, this is, we're collecting money to buy Pliny a yacht. The instinct would be to say, I myself don't have a yacht. And you want me to give money so he should have a yacht? Real chesed is stop thinking about yourself. Yeah, but he needs a yacht. Come out of yourself. Think another's perspective. Another's angle, that's real chesed. That's deep chesed. Asher yechsar loi. Are you thinking him? Are you thinking his perspective, his vantage point? Come out of yourself is the deepest chesed, and chesed is called gadol. Gadol is chesed. The thing that makes us the greatest gadol is our children. When we really come out of ourselves, what's his perspective? What's her perspective? What's her needs? How is she experiencing life? When we can come out of ourselves in that way, we truly become large. We might not be fives, but if you can understand the five, what is he seeing? What is he experiencing? What is she experiencing? If we really, truly, in parenting, that's our obligation. In being a Rabbi, that's our obligation. In giving over, that's our obligation. To come out of ourselves, to just see another vantage point. We have nothing to teach somebody if we don't understand somebody. We have nothing to give them if we don't understand them. A Rebbe came to me, I was in LA this year, and a Rebbe came to me, and he said, very ernst, a tzaddik of a guy, and he asked me the following question. He said that I teach in a modern school, and I'll spend money, and the kids come over to my house, and I'll buy them delicious things, and he's such an ernst guy, and I'll spend my money on the bachrim, and they come over to my house, and they come and they're disinterested. They're on their cell phones the whole time. They're all just talking. They're nice boys. And I sit there, miyuyish. I sit there so full of yiyish. I'm sitting there. They're all on their cell phones, disinterested. I have so many things I want to teach, so many values, so many ideas, and they're not interested in me. That's what he said to me. It was so sad and so ernst of a tzaddik of a gang. They're not interested. What should I do? So I said, what are they watching on their cell phones? They said, I don't know. They're on their cell phones. I said, well, what are they like? I said, I have no idea. So I said, you're a great shidduch with them. They're not interested in you and you're not interested in them. You want them to be interested in you and you're not interested in them. That's not a fair deal. I once asked the Rebbe what team. He told me a bacher's not interested in me. So I said, what's his favorite football team? It was the Jets. I'm a Giant fan, so I knew it was a Jets fan. So I said, what's this? He said, I have no idea. So I said, you're not interested in him. Why should he be interested in you? You don't know him. You don't know him yet. Now, do you have to know him to know his football team? But you have to be curious about him, about what he likes. You have to know what he's into, who is he? You have to understand before you're understood. You have to understand, who is this? You have to come out of yourself. What's his world? But not in a fake, in a real way. What are they watching? What are they seeing? I mean, you learn things, by the way. You learn things about all different things. Teach me, please teach me. And there's a lot to teach. It's not all crazy. There's a lot of interesting things people are curious about. And
what does the football team have to do with learning Torah?
If you understand him and value him, he'll want what you have. He'll beg you for your Torah. He'll beg for your Torah when he's understood. When somebody's understood, they want to understand you. If you're interested in who he is and what he is, he wants to know about you. That's the people we're curious about, the people who like us, who appreciate us, who understand us, who understand who we are. Moshe Rabbeinu, the first 3 episodes, the Rabban Shel Yisrael, the first 3 episodes were taught about Moshe, all caring about our Gashmias. When I went into Chinuch, so a Rebbe asked me, a Rebbe till today, I'm aketayv to this Yid, I was teaching the first time in my life. And he said to me, what are we doing about a certain bacher? I said, what are we doing? He's the best guy in my shir. What are we doing? Giving him a hug, a kiss, celebrating. He's unbelievable. So he said, no, what are we doing? He has acne. What are you doing about his acne? Understanding his world. He has acne. What are you doing about his acne? The tzaddik in Eretz Yisrael asked me, what are you doing about his acne? I said, I'm leaving Torah. I'm teaching Torah. What are you doing about his acne? Moshe Rabbeinu, Bayar B'Sivloisam, Rosh Hashanah, the first 3 episodes, he's Rabbi, he's teaching Ruchnius. Till he understands and appreciates and cares about their world, he can't show them a new world. There's no shaykhs. You can't teach it. Till you're worried about his acne, you can't show him a new world. The care, the understanding that must be there, and the coming out of ourselves to see another perspective, another world, and to understand it and care for it. And then so badly they want to know about what we're teaching, when we understand. If that Rebbe would understand them, they would crave to understand him. to really understand what are you about. They'd be curious, they'd be begging him, please tell us more, tell us more. They're clapping, it's true word. If this is the Rabbi say, with this understanding of what chinuch is, all of a sudden our children, and raising children, to me is the best experience of our life. I used to call my Rebbe, I call my children my Rebbeim, because they force me to come out of myself like nothing else in my life, my children. All of a sudden, the Gemara which says, Mitalmid hayosim mikorim, the ones who force us more and more to come out of ourselves, more and more, all of a sudden the Chazal, maybe we're moving towards, I don't say it's a full explanation of the Chazal, but maybe we're understanding more. But certainly the opportunity to teach our children, to give over the values to our children, all of a sudden when we understand them, all of a sudden the opportunity to teach and to inspire, all of a sudden the opportunity to mechanech them is a life-changing opportunity for ourselves, of growth, of learning savlanus, of learning just to come out of ourselves. That humility, that greatness, that chesed, that gadlus, in a deep way coming out of ourselves. I want to say one last point on chinuch and then close on a totally separate topic for 5 minutes. The last point I want to say on chinuch, just from conversations with people over Shabbos, something I want to say, that with our children and our wives, our spouses, wives to husbands, husbands to wife, parents to children, the way you teach people closer to yourself is different than the way you teach people more distant from yourself. I want to tell you something. I'm in a yeshiva, and once in a while we have a visiting speaker. And I always observe the visiting speaker comes and speaks. And it could be a good speech or bad, he speaks. I always observe a Rebbe in the yeshiva cannot speak to his own yeshiva. In yeshiva, I don't give speeches, never. I can't explain, it's not a speech. We sit together and we study Torah. There's no speeches. I can't speak. When you're close to somebody, a speech is designed, somebody you don't know that well, and you stand up and you give an exchange of ideas, you speak. When you're close to somebody, could you imagine a man who sits his wife down? I would like to give you a speech now. Who you are is how you transmit ideals to people you're close to. You don't give a speech to your spouse, just be great. And everything is spoken. All the time, there's a lot of chasnas going on. A lot of bachrim I'm close to are getting married these days. And all the time I'll get a call. I want to teach my wife. I said, no, don't tell your wife anything. Be great. Be great. That's how you teach people very close to you. The way we transmit to our children is only who we are. I tell my son, who cares what you tell your son? Your essence is the only, that you're much too close to speak. You don't get opportunities. Children sit down. Who you are is how you teach the ones close to you. In order that venue to happen, so how do I have the shir? We have to have a relationship. Just be close and just be great, and that's all the teaching you do for the people near you. If you're not close, then you don't have the shir room to teach them. Have a relationship, spend time, understand, and then who you are goes right into them. Then who you are impacts them. You're much too close for a speech. You don't get who you are shout so loud. Who we are is so loud that you can't hear what we say. You just don't hear. Could you imagine talking to your son and this crazy music, stuff playing, maybe it's his own, and he just can't hear, what Dad? He can't hear over the music. Well, nobody can hear us over who we are. You just can't hear over who we are. The way we teach people close to us is by who we are and keeping the communication close. When we have our teenage children, be close to them, have a close relationship. And then the line, that's the share room now. They're in the room now because you're close. If you're not close, then who you are will not be transmitted to them. But you're now close. You're now close, now just be special. And everything you are will be transmitted to your children because you're close. That is the means of transforming what we want to give to our children, is being special. There are many chazal and rayas to this. Rav Schwab spoke extensively about this, but I wanted to share that thought.